Oh no! Oh no 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 no!
What is that? A new PNG design.
So, every webtoon starts with an idea, maybe a random urge or something that you've been thinking of for a while. For me, it's been an on and off thought for the past few months, but today I finally decided to go ahead with it. If you've ever wanted to make your own webtoon, you're in the right place because I would love to inspire you into working on yours as well. During this project, my lovely friend Olivia has been super interested in writing the plot, however, we'll be keeping the specifics secret for now. In this video, I'll walk you through my personal process for creating my webtoon cast and share how I'm approaching it for my university coursework. If you're interested, keep watching this as I'd love to hear your feedback along the way. Before we get into the design process, Olive and I wanted to take some time to understand the bigger picture for the world we're wanting to create. I believe it's important to understand the tone, genre, and environment for your characters to grow and live in. I love creating moodboards and would highly recommend it to you whether you have a silly characters or are needing inspiration. For this example, I'm going to be basing it off of my Artsona. For my board, I tend to name it something relating to the story or characters. So for this, I'll be using Illustrator. Now, I recommend making different sections to keep it clean and organized. The ones I use the most are Character 1 Visuals, who I'll be referring from now as Dummy. In this section, I like to collect references for how the character looks. This includes, but isn't limited to, hair color, hairstyles, eye colors, eye shape, skin tones, outfits, nails, and anything that you want that will define their appearance. Dummy aesthetics, here, I like to focus on my character's overall vibe. I like to think about what the characters would like to do. My examples are being an artist focusing in digital media, collecting anime figures, loves to play video games, and enjoys socializing, or other little details that fit their personality. Dummy spaces. Now, I tend to make multiple sections for this, which includes house, bedroom, front rooms, school, park, and city. Of course, there's a lot more you could add to this, but this is about your character's go-to spots. For example, seeing a medieval style house immediately gives you the sense of an older time or maybe even fantasy, while something like an Oxford style school may suggest it being a more classical setting even if the world is mostly modern. By taking your time to understand the visuals of the world, it can give you more of an understanding of your characters and the world they inhabit, which makes designing them much easier later on. Back to the Webtoon series, Liv and I have been working on 5 different character designs for our base plan so far, so we could both see the progress and agree and disagree on the characters' aspects. We decided to put these moodboards together easily on Canva and later uploaded them to Pinterest. Since Ollie focuses more on the writing and planning the plot and the character roles, she's focused on figuring out how the characters and their aesthetics could link into their roles, while also working on the color palettes, while I focus on their visuals for the characters and how I would like for them to look. And after a few hours of going back and forth, we finally were set on these moodboards that felt right for the storyline we're going for. We'll be using these for our foundation for the designs moving forward. Something I feel like a lot of artists overlook, myself included, is how much character silhouettes can help you make them instantly recognizable, but also enhance your creative process. Sometimes, just the shape of your characters can tell you exactly who they are. For example, if I show you a shadow of Pikachu, you'd know right away who it is. The same can go for characters like Sonic or Goku. Their outlines alone are enough to give them away. But something you might not realize is that this actually works a lot for VTubers too. From big names like Iron Mouse to artists like me who just want to experiment, just having the features that stand out can help a lot. Having a strong, readable silhouette can make your character easier to recognize, especially when they appear in different poses or angles. But of course, exaggerating certain features or proportions work a lot better for cartoony styles, like the Powerpuff Girls, but it's not always necessary, so please don't stress yourself too much out about it. This part is meant to be fun. Sometimes simplifying your characters down to the basic shapes is a great way for you to understand their forms better. Defining a color palette for each character is also a great way to help others tell them apart and make your designs feel more cohesive. Keeping your colors consistent and distinct can help recognizability, especially when you have a larger cast. A great example of this is My Hero Academia's class 1A, where all their outfits stand out from one another despite being able to tell who the main character is. For my characters, I like working with around 6 key colors covering their hair, eyes, skin, lips, and main clothing tones. This is what works best for me, but don't feel like you have to limit yourself. Every artist has their own process, and what clicks for one person might not work for another, and that's totally okay. There are no strict rules in art, just tools to help you with your stories, designs, and art. You can also play around with common color tropes. Examples of this are warm tones, often representing a character that feels friendly and approachable, while cooler tones or darker tones can give off a more mysterious vibe. White is usually tied to purity or innocence, while black tends to suggest something darker or more mysterious. Even purple has its own history, where it was once considered a color of wealth and royalty, due to the dyes that used to make it were rare and expensive. By taking your time to understand the little associations can help you use colour more intentionally, not only making your characters look good, but also showing who they are in such a simple way. Now, what I'm about to talk about would probably feel like a slap in the face to no one but myself. Body language and posture. It is one of the most important parts of making your characters feel alive, and yet it's something I used to completely ignore. And to my lecturers who have spoken to me about this before, I apologise. I am slowly but surely learning how to avoid the dreaded T-pose and the stiff and rigid poses. I'll admit, I was super guilty of it growing up too, but over time I've slowly realised that even finding a simple idle pose that feels natural towards your character can make a huge difference. It's an easy way to help you tell them apart and show their personalities before any dialogue is needed. Some examples are a confident character might stand tall with their hands held on their hips, while a shy character might have more of a closed-off posture, or may have their head tilted towards the floor. Something I've learned while taking drama is that people who are more reserved tend to hold their arms in front of them, even crossing them or fidgeting around. It can be a form of protection or comfort. On the other hand, someone who gestures freely or keeps their hands open usually comes across as more talkative and expressive. Think of body language as another storytelling tool that can say just as much about your character as their outfits or facial expressions. If you're wanting to test this out, try a mini exercise where you draw one character with 3 different poses, the same design and the same facial expressions, but different body languages, and see which one feels the most like them. You might be surprised with how much personality you can show through your postures alone. Something I've noticed with my own art style is that I really struggle with is visual consistency. I'm always tempted to try out new things, whether it's experimenting with different features or switching up my style completely. But when it comes to working on a webtoon, keeping a consistent art style is super important, as it allows your characters to stay recognizable, but also builds that familiarity with the reader over time through repetition. Using the same proportions, eye shapes, and facial features across scenes is something I still need to practice myself. I still need to practice a lot more. So, to challenge myself, I have worked on the character sheets for each of my webtoon characters, showing them from the front, side, and back. This not only helps me stay consistent, but honestly, it also will help speed up my drawing process along the way. I also recommend trying to draw your characters from different angles or looking in various directions. It really helps you understand their unique features and how they will work in their spaces. I'll admit it's been a really tough habit for me to build in less than a month, but I tend to bounce between my characters a lot. But this has been a useful exercise to help me improve my consistency. Tying your character designs to their personality and stories are important. A design should be able to hint at who they are, what they've been through, or even their role within the story. One of the easiest ways to do this is through their clothes. Take Misa from Death Note. Her style isn't just about looking fashionable. Her outfits reflect her personality and her character arc throughout the story. They represent her internal duality and even her profession as a model. Some have also interpreted her choice of clothing to her devotion to those around her. Another way to convey the stories is through the scars or marks. The first that comes to mind for me is Midoriya and All Might from My Hero Academia are great examples. Midoriya's scars reflect his growth and personal efforts he's put into becoming one of the greatest heroes, starting as a quirkless individual, now being one of, if not the greatest hero in the franchise, while All Might's scars are a visible reminder to himself for the sacrifices he's made to save others and the constant reminder on why he became such a beloved character. Accessories and props are also a huge indicator of a character. They reflect interests, personal styles, or even become a recognizable key element. For instance, Ochako Uraraka's gauntlets, belts, shoes, and helmets aren't just visually iconic, but they also have a functional purpose that will be reflected in her abilities and the thoughtfulness within her hero design. Her helmet reduces inner ear stimulations, while the wrist gauntlets help suppress nausea by stimulating her pressure points, while also being upgraded to include grappling hooks, inspired by Black Whip. Her neck pieces also stimulates the pressure points, reducing headaches, and as for her shoes, they've been thought out and designed to break her fall from elevation. The soles of her toes are equipped with the shock-absorbing cushions, while her heels contain reinforced springs to soften the shock, while being upgraded to include thrusters allowing her to propel herself through the air. Each piece has been thought out specifically for her character, which I feel is such an improvement compared to her first design. Even small, subtle items can carry its own meanings. A worn-out backpack can tell a story about your character's history. Maybe they've had it for years, and it reflects their personal or financial attachments. There are countless ways to link design to story, but for me these are the key methods: clothing, scars or marks, accessories and props. Paying attention to these details can make your character feel more relatable and alive. To wrap this video up, I want to emphasize how important iterations are. I used to draw a character and stick with the first design I came up with. Sometimes it works, but most of the time, your first attempt is rarely your final one. Don't be afraid to redraw your characters a few times. Whether it's simplifying details, adjusting proportions, or testing them in different outfits, often it's through this process that you'll discover a version that feels right for your story. Now, I want to show you my characters and their variations so you can see which features I've ultimately chosen for their final designs. Starting with my first character, I knew I wanted to keep her design pretty simple. She's going to be the character I draw the most, so having a lot more complicated details could slow my art process down. Trust me when I say I've made this mistake before in other projects. The challenging thing about high detail characters is that every time you draw them, you have to remember all those little pieces, from how clothes could sit on a character to every accessory and each tiny feature they might have. It sounds super fun at first, but when you realize you'll be drawing this character panel after panel, keeping the main character simple, at least for me, makes sense. Obviously, this could be different for you. Despite her more simple design choices, I believe that she'll still be recognizable, and to get some advice, I've asked some of my friends to fill out a form, letting them pick their favorite features, and for them to give me their opinions on these designs. For my final character design, we have ended with this design being its final piece. In the future, I would love to explore a wider range of color variations for her, but for now, I think this combination really captures her personality. For the next few characters, you probably would have noticed how I focused less on their colour palettes and how I spent more time understanding how I want their outfits to portray them. For this particular character, I ended up putting a few ideas together, and I think the final combination really worked in his favour. From his hairstyle to his outfit, it reflects a part of his personality and the role in the story. As the story does develop, I do plan on giving him a wider colour palette range outside of the brown tones. I want him to feel confident no matter what he wears, along with adding more subtle details in his clothes that maybe hint at his background, from his wealth and his status, to subtle interests on what he likes. For character 3, I wanted to challenge myself by designing a stronger, more confident woman, something that's a bit outside of what I usually draw. I knew from the start that I wanted a sense of diversity and range within my cast, so it's important that her design stands out while still relating to the story. I want her features to reflect her strength, but also her discipline and self-care. She's someone who takes pride in staying active and looking after herself, and I wanted that to come through visually. It's a trait that's had a positive impact on her, both physically and emotionally, which will make her an inspiring character for the protagonist. Having a simplified backstory can help you shape your design decisions. Knowing she's confident, it lets me know her posture will be pretty good, with an athletic build, to her clothing choices, and even subtle details in her accessories. I also found out that using a base template to sketch out multiple variations of her designs was a great time saver, while also allowing me to explore different looks. For my 4th character, I wanted to keep his style simpler, but clean. Going into his design, I had a vision of what I wanted his personality and hobbies to portray, which made deciding on his look much easier. Every character should have 1, 2, or even 3 standout traits that make them instantly recognizable, and for him, I focused on his hairstyle, eyes, and trousers, while keeping his top more simplified compared to the rest of the cast. You don't need to overload a design with details. Sometimes just one memorable feature, like a messy bun, bandana, or sharp defined eyes, can make a huge difference. It's those small, consistent details that help your characters stay recognizable, even in sketches or background panels. For my last character, I ended up spending less time on her overall design, partly because of the time crunch, but also because she's one of the first characters I already had a clear vision for. I knew exactly what I wanted her outfit to look like, so I didn't need to experiment as much as I'd like to in that area. I focused my energy on refining her facial features and her hair. because these are elements that really give her personality and make her stand out. Even small adjustments like the shape of her eyes, the curve of her smile, or the way her hair frames her face can completely change how her character feels to the viewer. For me, these subtle details are what brought her to life and helped her feel like a fully realised part of the cast without even spending so much time on the other design elements. If you've been drawing along with me during this video, I would love to see the characters you've come up with. You can tag me on social media and you can find me at DYMBILLUSTRATIONS. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the cast. And if you have some spare time, I've put a Google form in the description for your insights on character designs within Webtoons. Bonus points if you can guess what traits or roles you think these characters might have in the story. This video was put together in less time than my previous videos, but if this video does help you out and you'd like to see more tutorials and insights, like this video. If you'd like to see me do more tutorials and insights like this video, do give this video a like down below. I am currently working on a part 2 for Squid Game and the evolution video, so please stay tuned, I will get there eventually. Also, I just want to take some time to say a big thank you to everyone who's been seeing my videos recently. Just by giving me a follow, and I've somehow reached 40 followers. It is amazing to me, and I'm stuttering and I don't know what else to say. But until next time, stay creative. Goodbye!